Hey, good morning, everyone. Peter Boyle's in for the fellows. Jeff and Bill have the day after Christmas off, and I get a chance to fill in Friday morning, December the 26th, 2025. Good old 710 KNUS. Good morning. On Friday, the record, by the way, for the day is 68 degrees, and that was set in 1980. 65 will be the high today on a Friday. I'm back tomorrow at 9. 61 will be the high. And then here it comes on Sunday. Here comes the snow. So 710 KNUS the day after Christmas, and it was 29. This will give you a sense of how time has passed. 29 years ago, as we speak, Patsy Ramsey claimed she found the ransom note, and that began it all. Patricia Calhoun will be with us in the next hour, and of course, we come back with the one and only Alan Pendergast at 8 o'clock. In the meantime, this guy has been a friend, a mentor. He has been, we've worked together both before all of the radio stuff and now with us. Mark Crowley's here. And of course, Mark was, how many years were you a Denver cop?
27.
27 years on the job with the cops, and then came into a true love that he has for radio. So it was then. Those many years ago, I was doing the morning show on KHOW, and the morning after, this is morning after Christmas, Patsy claims she went into the kitchen to make coffee. On her way down the spiral staircase, she found the lengthy, bizarre ransom note. And look at you shaking your head already. The note was written on paper, taken from Patsy Ramsey's notepad. It demanded this particular amount of money. The last couple of nights I've been back rereading all the notes and putting things together, hopefully for the show today. $118,000, the same amount that John Ramsey received for his Christmas bonus as president of Access Graphics. You're laughing. We're off to see the wizard. It's still not clear why that exact dollar amount was demanded or by whom. We never knew. I have my my ransom note here. Just a second. I got so much junk.
Well, it sounds just like a kind of a number that happened to be in her head.
Exactly. Find the famous ransom note, 2.5 pages. You ever hear of it?
$18,000 in Jelly of the Month Club.
Did you ever hear that someone would do a 2.5? No. And as I yellowed out stuff to bring it in, the warning on the ransom note is if we so much as see, let me read it so I got it accurately. I brought junk in here. I should have opened the show with this, with the ransom note, but they say if we so much as see, here it is. I'll read any deviation of my instructions. This is the 2.5-page ransom note. Will result in an immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. Now, who does this in a ransom note? The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I would advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, and then etc., ECT or ETC, will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking so much as to a stray dog, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You're not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate, this is a ransom note. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense. Now, how did if you're still in a, nah. It is up to you now, John. Victory, LBTC. What's the first thing Patsy does? Calls the cops.
Well, and a 2-page ransom note written like
2.5 pages.
2.5 pages while they're in a house that they just broke into and are going to have to try to make their way out as quickly as possible without being detected, and they're going to stop and write a 2.5-page note.
It begins with, because I just jumped to the part, we'll kill your kid. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you. Remember, they waited by the phone. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. Thinking of John's health. Be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early. This is the ransom note. Nobody ever reads it or talks about it. We might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence deliver. And then they wrote earlier delivery, and then they crossed the word delivery. Pickup of your daughter. Now, the killing of JonBenet Ramsey, and it's December 25th, 1996, and here she is. She's 6 years of age. Her family home, famous 755 15th Street in Boulder. They've now changed that address. They've moved that address around. Her body's found in the house basement about 7 hours after she had been reported missing. Patsy made the phone call. Her skull was fractured. A garrote was tied around her neck. The autopsy report stated that the official cause of death was asphyxiation by strangulation associated with a word I can't pronounce. Her death was ruled a homicide, and the case starts worldwide public and media attention. I remember the ride. The Boulder police initially, now I'm going to ask you as a cop, did the Boulder cops blow this?
Well, where the whole case fell apart, besides that ridiculous ransom note, the crime scene was destroyed within minutes.
Yep. No.
And I Boulder at that time was a pretty peaceful community.
Perfect murder, perfect town.
Yeah, and so because of that, the police department really didn't have the experience of dealing with crime scenes on a major homicide.
But they turned back when the offer came in from the Denver murder squad.
Right. Well, that's because they were embarrassed. I think they think, well, we're that good. But if I've told people many, many times over the years, if that had happened at 755 15th Street in downtown Denver, that crime scene would have been sealed off. Everybody was out of there. A search would have been done. That body would have been found in 7 minutes instead of 7 hours.
Yes.
And the whole case would have gone completely differently.
You remember in Aurora, there was a case. It was Aaron A. Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And they never found that little girl's
Nope.
body. But it was Aaron Thompson, and I'm trying to think of the woman's name. It'll come to me. They killed that little girl.
Right.
And the Aurora PD put on a clinic, and they solved that case.
Yep.
And again, remember there was so much talk about what had happened with OJ, but they sealed up that murder scene. Nobody got in there.
No.
And of course, OJ did it. I mean, it's not tough. But I'll get the phone lines open. 303-696-1971. Mark Crowley, Peter Boyles, good morning. It's a Friday. Patricia Calhoun, I saw Patty on Christmas Eve. We talked about the impact, the media impact, and all of the people who appeared in this. It ain't a whodunit, is it?
No.
And then Alan Pendergast, who I think is the master blaster of all of this, will join us. I'm back tomorrow at 9 o'clock following John Caldera. And the lies that were told about this and the people that got involved with it. And even Lynn Wood got involved.
Yep.
And Lynn Wood was hired by the Ramseys. He later goes on to be one of Trump's election deniers. And then he goes whack. Mm-hmm. I think he's lost his license to practice law. But he sued. Remember, he sued the Globe?
Right.
And he used to leave me, and I said this before, he would leave me voicemails at KHOW, threatening me. And Dan Kaplis, he did the same thing to Kaplis. And I wish I'd have kept him. We could have played him on the air. But I'm reading last night, she was Little Miss Colorado, Little Miss Charleroi, that's Michigan, Colorado State All-Star Kids Cover Girl. She was America's Royal Miss, and she was also the National Tiny Miss Beauty. She's wearing high heels when she's 5 years old.
She'd be 35 today.
Yes, or yeah, she was
6, I think.
No, she was.
Was she 5?
She was 5.
So she'd be 34.
No, she might have been
34, 35.
Yeah,
years old today.
That morning after Christmas, and Patsy goes into the kitchen, she says to make coffee. And on her way down the spiral staircase, finds the lengthy and that very bizarre ransom note that we just read. And she calls 911. Investigators find no immediate signs of forced entry, and we're off to see the wizard. Wow. And the city lined up media-wise. Patricia will talk about it. The Rocky Mountain News becomes the Ramsey Mountain News. Channel 9 goes in the tank so bad. People show up. And Michael Tracy from CU, just running down the names of these people. They had been at the Whites, Fleet and Priscilla White's house. A week before she was killed, John Bonet was in the Boulder Christmas Parade. Her name was displayed along the side of the float. And John Ramsey said, well, that might have been a mistake to show her off on her mother did that. She's wearing high heels and she's following in the footsteps of her beauty queen mother, Patsy Ramsey, former Miss West Virginia. And on the night of the 25th, John Bonet and her brother Burke, they were at Fleet and Priscilla's house. The parents returned home from a Christmas dinner, and Patsy Ramsey claimed she tucked her daughter into bed, that Jean Bonet was asleep in the car. Except comes the autopsy, and there's pineapple in her stomach and cream, which was her brother's favorite dessert, which always logically taught all of us that when she came home from the Whites, she went into the refrigerator and she ate. She was not carried in sleeping. She ate. They changed her clothing. Jean Bonet's body was found in the family basement with a cord around her neck. And wow. I mean, so much of this stuff, the last couple of nights getting chances to read, and you forget, and so many, but...
Well, just by virtue of the fact that she was found in the basement with a garrote around her neck and strangled, completely voids the ransom letter.
Oh.
It makes it completely false.
Sure, of course.
I would love to see some of the pictures, because I'm trying to think, here's people who secretly break into the house while they're sleeping.
And there's
no entry point and there's no exit point. I would love to see what her bedroom looked like. There had to be even, so let's just say that when they went in, they immediately put their hands over her face and muffled her voice and all of that sort of thing. There would have been, just by virtue of natural human survival instinct, a fight.
Yeah.
Of her trying to get away.
Yeah.
and there would have been evidence of that, and no exit point.
No.
They would have been making tracks out of there ASAP.
And I mean, none of it made sense until
it makes zero sense
until people started becoming Ramsey apologists, like I don't know, Paula Woodward.
Yeah,
a great Ramsey apologist.
Probably the number one.
Yes, number one. The entire Rocky Mountain News became apologist. The Mark Beckner, who was the chief, he gave this interview on Reddit. And I watched it again, and he said what you were just, but in such a way. He said mistakes were made. You think, right? Investigators have tried to unravel. And what's interesting now is they're all into this. John Ramsey, I watched this L.A. interview that he did. It's all on they claimed the unidentified male. They know it was a man. And all this forensics that we have to continue to test. And all these individuals that they claim possibly did it. Patsy blamed a number of people, and the crime scene is compromised. So, do you think they knew how to do that? Do you think the Ramseys knew how to compromise? Because the note says,
well, it's not their fault that the crime scene was compromised. They're not thinking in terms of a crime scene, which is why when the police show up, they're the ones who are, thinking in terms of a crime scene. They have to sterilize and sanitize that place as far as people destroying evidence. I mean, it is just so bad. And even, when you contrast the Denver Police Homicide Squad and what they, ingrain into recruits at the academy, crime scene, crime scene, crime scene, crime scene, lock it down, stop, get everybody out, preserve it. And people walked around there literally for hours.
Oh, yeah.
With the
they called
people coming over, looking around.
They called the Fernies. They called the Whites.
Yeah.
They called. I don't know. I think the Reverend Hoverstock was in the house, but failing to secure that house. I mean, people drifted in and out.
Right, for hours.
In 7 hours.
Yeah.
The crime scene had been compromised. Evidence is not properly collected.
If at all.
If at all. Once you want to separate mommy and
Totally.
daddy.
Absolutely.
Tell me the story.
Yeah.
And then switch. John, I watched the old CNN. He said he was aghast. John Ramsey said that they were focused on Patsy and I. Well, of course. And Boulder police, they said they would find the killer. Well, remember Patsy was on the night on New Year's night, and I watched it, and I later found out that she was higher than a giraffe's rear end, and she started, there's a killer out there.
I remember that.
And then the mayor came on and said, no, there's no killer out there. Patsy and 303-696-1971. Tell us what you think. The initial investigation in 96.
Well, and you think about it with John Ramsey being aghast that they would point at her. You have to remember that the police detectives are working for one person in that situation, and that's John Benet Ramsey.
Right.
She's the victim of this crime, and they're trying to prove the case against whoever did it to her, and they have to the people who are closest to the victim need to be eliminated as quickly as possible.
As soon as possible.
And then they can get about what they're doing. But don't worry about being aghast.
They wouldn't talk to the cops.
Right.
They would not. All right, so we need to take the break. Is that what we're going to do? All right, so let's do that. Folks on the phones, hang on. We'll come right back. Get your calls. It is Mark Crowley and Peter Boyles. And 29 years ago, give you an idea how time has passed, Patsy Ramsey claims she found the ransom note. And 7 hours later, they find this body, and we'll talk more. 710 KNUS is going to be 65, maybe a record. 61 Saturday, Sunday, here it comes, 29 degrees.
Mostly cloudy skies,
6
lows
degrees
tonight,
on
30.
Sunday night, so maybe some of the weather breaks. Right back after this on 710 KNUS.
Mostly cloudy skies, lows tonight, 30s and low 40s, partly to mostly cloudy on Friday. Highs will be 60s again, 30s Friday night, lows Saturday night, and during the day Saturday, do expect things to change up a bit. Saturday's highs mid to upper 50s. Saturday night, a cold front comes in, and it's going to be a lot colder. Lower 20s Saturday night, could have a snow shower, and we may have a brief period of light snow along the Front Range Sunday, much colder with highs only 30s, teens Sunday night. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Morning, everybody. 710 KNUS on a Friday, December the 26th. Peter Boyles, Mark and I together again. Patricia Calhoun coming up. Alan Pendergast coming up. It's going to be 65 for a high today, 38 tonight, 61 on Saturday. It marks 29 years, the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. We go to Marcus. Good morning. You're on a radio show. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to you and Mark Crowley.
Indeed.
But I remember when you were covering that, people were asking you questions all over the United States. You knew more than the reporters. But there was two things that always bothered me. A 2.5-page ransom note. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, whatever happened to the Ramseys? Where did they go?
Well, John lives in Michigan now, and Patsy died.
Oh.
She had ovarian cancer, which I think was one of the contributors to what she had done to her little girl. She was a rager. Mark?
Known to be a rager. And, and I think she was eaten from the inside out after all of this happened. And
I do too.
Just kind of wilted away.
I remember the night that when and we know now that the grand jury voted to indict her parents, but Alex Hunter would not do the job. And that asks 1,000 other questions that Pendergast will talk about. What happened in Boulder where the grand jurors met. They met for 13 months. Mark, you're
right.
And Patty will talk about it because of the Rocky Flats grand jury. And they heard everything. What's a grand jury here? Everything.
Everything.
And the grand jurors met over 13 months, and they heard law enforcement and the civilians, including, I think, even her brother Burke went before the grand jury. And he was in the house at the time of his sister's death. And John and Patsy were not asked to testify. And the grand jury voted to indict the parents on charges of child abuse resulting in death and being accessories. And the news never came to light for more than 10 years until the district attorney, Alex Hunter, who just passed away, declined to file charges. Wow. And I remember, the grand jury, and then finally one of the grand jurors, they went rogue and came out and spoke to a reporter from the Boulder Daily Camera and said, enough. We wanted to get them both, indict them both. So it goes. And they were never indicted. Patsy, of course, was gone way before then. But John could have easily been brought in and tried.
Isn't it it's the strangest case I ever heard?
Top five.
We needed Colombo.
Top five. Yeah.
Colombo and Monk.
That's so strange.
Well,
and Denver PD offered up some of the best homicide investigators.
Mashad did.
Mashad did. And Tom Haney was going to be the lead investigator coming up from Denver.
Hell of a cop.
Oh, my gosh.
Hell of a cop. Yeah. And Patsy, they defenders like Paula Woodward and others, they call it the 2008 apology. Well, that was from the then DA. And she, if there ever was a disaster, and she issued this apology, and they glommed onto it. And 2008 apology from the Boulder County District Attorney cleared her and her husband. She never lived to see it because she died of ovarian cancer. She was 49 years old in 2006.
Wow.
And that was strictly a political move on the part of the DA.
Absolutely.
No question.
Absolutely.
And it seems just like yesterday, Peter, really.
Well, that's why I thought,
it's kind of, when you said 29 years, I'm like, that threw me back. It's like, God, it's been that long?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And people remember.
Oh, I mean, when I thought about doing the show, knowing I was going to fill in for the guys, and I'm doing this for probably as much for me because, boy, we took a lot of heat. I remember so well in the parking lot of the Boulder Justice Center with name drop, Geraldo Rivera.
Yep.
And he had come out here, and they were staying in the Boulderado, which is a whole other story. And they had an RV. Fox had an RV. It was a big one that they had rented, and they were there. And I was sitting in the RV with Geraldo, and we went out into that parking lot, and Alex Hunter had set up a big medium microphone, and they had speakers, and I was being told they were going to indict the Ramseys. They were writing up the indictment. And then he stood there and said he wasn't going to do it. And later we find out that the grand jury wanted to indict them both. How does that work, Mark? How does that work?
Well,
I don't know, Peter, but I remember you were on the national news big time.
Almost every
People
night.
were asking you questions.
Yeah. And how does it work that the grand jury?
Well, the grand jury are really nothing more than advisors to the district attorney. You know, the district attorney puts on the case to the grand jury, and they have to evaluate it. And they come back with a no bill or a true bill. And if it comes back a true bill,
They did.
Then they would. Then he has to evaluate whether or not, in his mind, he has the ability to reach a verdict beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's his out.
Last night when I'm thinking, gearing up for today, I'm thinking to myself, why didn't Alex Hunter say there were so many people in that parking lot, the grand jury wanted to do it, but I say no. He didn't do that.
He could never say that.
No.
He could never say that.
That's right. But we later found out the grand jury wanted to get them both.
Especially in this case, he couldn't say that because it was such a big case.
Yes.
But, I think the public opinion would be let justice play out. Let the case move forward and let's hear it in the public square and make the decision and let a jury decide.
John Ramsey.
I just find it.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. Hunter had that much power.
Oh, sure.
It just doesn't make no sense.
Well, there's John Ramsey remarried. He moved to Utah. I think he still may be. Have to be cautious. He went to Michigan and ran for office.
Right.
And I have one of his campaign buttons. He got beat.
Wow.
Then I think he remarried and went to Utah. There was a Netflix documentary, and John was part of it. Now seems to be the major media and the players all seem to be set on clearing the Ramseys. I mean, and talking about, I downloaded all the stuff on the new evidence. No, there's no new evidence. I mean, there's.
You don't believe that, Peter or Mark? You guys don't believe they're innocent, do you?
No,
I don't.
Of course
No,
not.
100%.
Of course not. No. And one of the moments in reading was that, and I was talking to Mark Crowley off the air. There was a Boulder officer by the name of Rick French, and Pendergast will talk more about it, but he claims in his testimony that he went into the basement and he came to a door that was secured by an additional wooden latch at the top of the door frame. And he paused and he walked away without opening it. Now, what the hell? You're a cop. I mean, you know. And French later said that he was looking for an exit. See, back to these people couldn't have done it. French is looking for an exit route used by the kidnapper. There isn't a kidnapper. And since the wooden latch was holding the door closed from inside, the kidnapper, French
could
thought,
not have used
could have
that
not
door.
have done
Right.
that.
Right.
And, of course, John Bonet's body was later found behind that door. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. He was right there, and he didn't do his job. While she's still missing, the forensics team finally gets dispatched to the house, and they came in believing that the little girl had been kidnapped. They weren't even looking at the parents. And they went to her bedroom, and no precautions were taken to prevent, as Mark Crowley has pointed out, the contamination of evidence in the rest of the house. And visitors picked up and cleaned surfaces in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh!
And
That's a nightmare.
That's where the flashlight was found. And Boulder. And then here comes Linda Arndt, the Boulder detective, who was prior to becoming a Boulder cop. She was a mall cop, and she gets there about 8:00 in the morning, and she's waiting for instructions from the kidnappers. She was not looking at the Ramseys. And at 1:00, Arndt asked John Ramsey and Fleet White, who I've met,
Sat in this room with you.
sat indeed, to search the house to see if anything seemed. Now, this is after they destroy the whole place, right? And then Arndt's words are to see if anything seemed amiss. There's a classic. They started their search. John Ramsey goes straight down, opens the latch door, and screams. There's the body.
Unbelievable.
Her mouth was covered with duct tape. There was a nylon cord was found around, and Patty's going to talk about this, around her wrist and around her neck. She had a white blanket on her. Who does that? John picked up the body, rushed upstairs, and Jean Bonnet was moved. There you go again, back to crime scenes. And that crime scene gets contaminated, and all the forensics evidence was disturbed, right? Was knocked out of the box. And it just, so, I mean, think about that. And now, and how could Paula Woodward or that idiot Michael Tracy or any of those people, how could they claim innocence with all of this? And they did.
Yeah.
And they did. Channel 9 went so into the tank. The Rocky Mountain News went into the tank. Why did they do that, Mark? I mean,
That's the $64,000 question.
yeah.
And they were supposed to be the news of the day. It makes no.
Yeah, no. There was,
You knew more than they did, Peter.
I don't know if
So did Mark.
well, no, I mean, but Patsy Ramsey reported that she had found this 2.5-page handwritten ransom note on their kitchen staircase, demanding the $118,000 that we talked about. And John pointed out to the first cop on the scene that it was exactly the same amount of his Christmas bonus. Now,
That's true.
now,
Yeah, it's like, and who writes a 2.5-page ransom note? Really, Peter?
Patsy Ramsey.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But-
2.5 pages.
Yeah, but there was also this reference to Psalms 118 and this religious determining possible, and Patsy was, we are told, a religious woman, and they choose parts. I mean, I don't know. You can't get into her head, but there are people that believe that there were parts of movies that she put into that, but the ransom note was quite unusual, I guess you could say. And the FBI, there was an FBI quote here. I found this one. The FBI and told the Boulder PD that it was very unusual. I love that choice of words, for a note to be written that long and left at a crime scene. The Boulder police believed the note was staged. Huh? Is that rough? But it did not have any fingerprints because Patsy was cautious. And authorities it became the explanation points and those French marks and all that stuff. That's Patsy Ramsey.
Yeah.
But the evidence fell short. Wow. Said and done.
Yeah. And one of these days we have to have Cowboy Movie Day so I can ask Mark Crowley some questions. Take care, Peter.
Love you. Thanks, man. We got almost, we got a minute here till the break. So 303-696-1971. Patricia Calhoun is coming up, and about the whole city of Denver and what happened and the culture. And I didn't know till I was at a get-together on Christmas Eve, and Patricia was there, that when I got subpoenaed into that courtroom, she was a witness in that case. I never knew it, and she was she'll talk about it. But I actually, my son got hit with the subpoena, and then I had to appear, and they were going to throw me in jail, and it was just a hell of a time. But I didn't know that Patricia was in that case, and she with Westward. She had published the picture, or the Denver Post published a picture of the little girl's hand.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that.
God. All right, everybody, 303-696-1971. 65 the high today, 61 Saturday, and 29 degrees. And here comes 1 to 3 inches of snow, 6 degrees Sunday night. 303-696-1971. Back after this. It's a Friday morning, everyone, December the 26th, 2025. Peter Boyle's in for Jeff and Bill. Mark Crowley sitting with me, 710 KNUS on a Friday. A record, perhaps, the record is 68 for today, 65. Tomorrow, 61, and then the bottom drops out and the snow comes in and it's 6 degrees. 710 KNUS 303-696-1971. It was 29 years ago, and Patsy Ramsey discovers, quote unquote, the ransom note, the 3.5-page ransom note. And I really did a lot of prep for this. This was a really important story to me, and what happened on the murder of this little girl. And here's one, Mark. There was a guy back in the notes and back, a guy named Scott Gibbons, and Scott Gibbons was one of the Ramseys' neighbors. And he said that around midnight, he's looking out of his kitchen window, and he sees the kitchen of the Ramseys' residence lit up with dim lights. Another person, neighbor Melanie Stanton, reports that she wakes up, same time, midnight, to the sound of a child's scream. And I think she's running from her mother. And the little girl's a bedwetter and a defecator. And Patsy sneaks downstairs with a flashlight to try and catch her. And she had wet the bed. And she ran from her mother.
Well, nothing surprises me.
And Patsy hit her from behind.
Yep.
And that set the whole thing off. But here are these two people. Scott Gibbons, the neighbor, claims that around midnight, while looking from his kitchen. So who do they pay attention to? Santa Claus McReynolds.
Yeah.
Remember Santa
right,
Claus?
Yeah.
Santa Claus McReynolds. And the Ramseys start pointing fingers at him. And he's a buffoon, but what about Scott Gibbons, and what about the other neighbor, Melanie Stanton, who reported that she wakes up and hears the sound of a child scream? It's coming from the Ramseys. I think it's a little girl running from her mother.
Wouldn't you love to be able to get to the transcripts of the grand jury to see see all the testimony, all the notes, all of the mindset of where they were at to come back with wanting to indict?
13 months the grand jury met, and they came back and said, we want to indict them both. Now, wonder what Paula Woodward does with that, or Michael Tracy does with that, or any of these other apologists who jump up. I watched a piece that John Ramsey did with an L.A. news. Was it KTLA or somebody? And when we watched that last week, and this woman, this blonde woman, is this anchor. Has she ever done a nickel's worth of hard work to come across that the grand jury wanted to indict John Ramsey? And she's sitting there playing this guy like you were the unjustly accused. And I thought, come on.
$2 Donut says she never even looked at the ransom note.
Of course not. She never read that.
Nope.
And that's idiocy.
It totally is. And here it is, this long later on, and I've always been interested in the case, but until this morning, there are sections of that ransom note that I had never heard before.
No, because, I had we'll talk about it with Patty coming up, but that was the big, why I was in trouble, because I was shown not the original note, but I was shown the copy. I was taken, I can say it now, I was, the restaurant I went to was Zadie's. That's where it happened.
Sure.
And I won't, obviously, and never will tell the name of the persons that showed me a copy of the note, but it took place in Zadie's restaurant. I lived in Cherry Creek then, and we had been through when I came on the air on KHOW and said I'd seen the note, and those guys showed up from the Globe and the Inquirer, and we went to Rodney's. That's where we went that night. I had no idea, and they had worked Princess Di. They had worked stories on O.J. And one guy said, he looked at me, he said, I bought Nicole Brown Simpson's diary from her father for $100,000.
Wow.
And so he asked my ex-wife if she wanted a big diamond. And he said, I'll give you a diamond if he gives me the note. I said, first of all, I don't have the note. Number two, I wouldn't do that. It's just like you don't do it. So they finally they're sued, not sued. They go after them on a criminal beef, and because the defense attorney, the defense team for the Inquirer and the Globe, well, they said, well, the cops were showing the note to Ron, and he saw it. And so there I was in court, and they wanted to toss me in jail because I wouldn't give it up.
Yep.
Yeah. And the person or persons who actually I met at Zadie's for breakfast that morning was sitting in the far back of that courtroom. They were there looking, and I didn't know that Patricia was part of that. And so I went back 3 times. And how much time we got? Real quick. So after Jeff Schrader, the sheriff of Jefferson County, he's term limited. This is a true story. And there's another guy running who wants to become the sheriff. And there's only 2 people I've ever given any money to run for office. One's Kevin Flynn, the other was Tancredo. So they invite Tom Tancredo, myself, and Frank DeAngelis to come to this barbecue. So we go, and these are my favorite people, so we go. And I'm standing in this chow line getting barbecue, and this little guy comes up behind me. He said, "Are you Peter Boyles?" And I'm thinking, I owe you money? He said, "I wanted to throw you in jail." He's the guy. He was the Boulder guy. And he wanted. Do we have enough time? We don't have enough. No, we don't have enough time. Folks on the phones, hang on. And that was the guy who said, they were going to toss me. And the judge finally granted me a press shield because they were saying talk radio doesn't deserve a press shield.
Wow.
I said, yeah, we do. And so Patty was in that trial, and I didn't realize it. And so she'll talk about all the media stuff, and then Pendergast, who was. There is no one better. Back here tomorrow at 9, following John Caldera, John Ramsey. He's out there.
Yep. Free man, walking. And always remember, everybody, because you're going to hear a lot today because if anniversary is the right term, the grand jury voted to indict him, her parents, both of them, and no charges ever took place. All right, we need to turn. All right, we'll pull out Patty Calhoun coming up. And I think this is a really important lesson. And we now hear them say, well, it's the unidentified male. No, it's not. Thanks for doing the hour. I'm going to go admire my big lump of beautiful coal that I got for Christmas.
They just didn't leave, did they?
Big, beautiful coal.
No. Great Christmas time. 65 the high. Stay here. Back with Westward's Patricia Calhoun.